Hey everyone, it's Christine Gritman here with Social.
Camera's up there. I got you now.
Built-in microphone muted. Okay. Hey everyone, it's Chris.
The beauty of live video.
Hey everyone, it's Christine Gritman here with Social. I do the show every week where I bring on one of my smart friends to talk about social media. And today I am here with Chris Strub, a return guest.
Oh, so good to be back.
Yes, and we're going to talk about, first of all, we're together, which is awesome. Usually
cool.
You're like far away. And we're going to talk about live video, which I don't think is the thing we talked about last time, which is crazy because you've been doing live video for how long?
Quite a while. Yeah, I started back with Meerkat. Back in 2015.
Wow, Meerkat. I never did Meerkat. I kind of skipped Meerkat.
It was
I went
cool.
right to
They had
Periscope.
like a big leaderboard where everyone was trying to compete and work their way up. And then Periscope kind of became a thing later that summer. And then of course Facebook Live. So
how did you come to start doing Meerkat?
I saw Brian Fanzo doing it. You know what I mean? I saw all the cool people doing it on social media, and then I tried to imagine ways to be able to actually use live streaming in an effective and interesting manner.
How did you use it at the beginning? Like, do you remember your first Meerkats or your first live broadcast?
So the timing of everything that happened with 50 States, 100 Days was kind of crazy. So when I started planning so I don't know if I don't want to be presumptive that your audience knows, in the summer of 2015.
I was going to get to that part.
I took a road trip to all 50 U.S. states in 100 days, and I worked with a different nonprofit in all 50 states, started in Greenville, South Carolina. When I started planning that trip, I'm losing my voice again, long night at the Hyatt last night, in late 2014 into 2015, live streaming wasn't really... Social live streaming wasn't really a thing.
It's so new. People don't even realize, because it's so ubiquitous now, people don't realize how very new it is. We're talking 2015. That's 5 years ago.
Right.
That's not very long.
And of course, when we're on stage, we can talk about how live streaming has been a thing for decades, right?
Yeah, in a sense.
Right. So news broadcasters have been telling stories using live video on TV.
Journalism
forever.
is how I started with live broadcasting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was in the journalism field too, which is why I think one of the many, many reasons that we are good friends.
Yes.
What's really changed in the last 5-6 years is the democratization of live video, right? That we can all pick up our phone or our Mac and set up, and we can broadcast live from wherever we are.
Yeah.
So that was really the launch. So much of live streaming was at South by Southwest back in 2015. Meerkat was introduced. So
you've really been in it since the start then, if it started in 2015 and you've been doing it since 2015.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's evident by what you see in some of the live streams as well. We talk about the improvements in the technology, all the different microphones and lights and the tripods, and all of this tech has really evolved because of the changes that have come into the live streaming space. But if you look back at some of the earliest live streams that I did during 50 States, 100 Days, you can't even find most of them because they hadn't invented the thing that saved the live streams when we started. So if you're looking to see some of the live stuff that I did from 2015, I don't have anything saved until I got to Texas because that's when the company launched. It's called Catch, to be able to save your Meerkat streams.
Interesting.
Then we moved to Periscope and yada, yada, yada. They created ways for you to be able to save your broadcast, then they deleted them all.
Yeah.
So, the evidence is there. But certainly it's been interesting to watch how the live streaming industry has adapted to what its users are looking for over the last 5-6 years.
Absolutely. So let's go back to 2015. You're on Meerkat. Before you did 50 States, 100 Days, what were you doing on live? When we were just toying around with it, before you had a purpose?
The first live stream that I did. So again, here's the timing of it. There's South by Southwest. Again, if it's not, it might actually be canceled today. They're holding a news conference in a few minutes. By the time you see this broadcast on Friday, South by might have been canceled.
I would think they do it virtually, honestly. I don't think they would
pulling
straight
out
up.
And everything. It's been wild. We could talk about the ongoing circumstances
not our
here
problem.
this week. No, it's not. No, we'll both be home. Meerkat was introduced at South by Southwest, which I believe is in March. Now, I didn't jump on right away. I know, again, our buddy Fanzo was walking around at South by, live streaming. He was one of the very first to do
Fanzo.
it. He always tells a story of the plumber that watched his very first live stream, was his only viewer. Right? So my first live stream, actually, as it relates to the democratization of what we're talking about, was 2 days before 50 States, 100 Days started.
Wow.
I was in my apartment and nobody watched.
Yeah.
So I was like, hello?
Which is
this
actually
thing on? Hello?
kind of great. So I tell people when they say, well, I'm worried no one will watch my live, but then they're also worried about going live. That's a perfect set of circumstances. If nobody's watching, you can screw up. That's a perfect learning experience.
So it wasn't till, again, if your audience doesn't know the story, 50 States, 100 Days, state number 2 was Georgia. So I went to Georgia, I went to a minor league baseball game, and I was playing around with Meerkat again. So I went live at the baseball stadium where I got to throw out the first pitch. Nobody watched. Then I went live again, and nobody watched. And then I was like, all right, third time's a charm. So I went live, and Meerkat was connected in with Twitter, which we both love so much, of course.
I didn't know Meerkat connected with Twitter. I knew Periscope did.
Meerkat was very connected with Twitter in the early days, insofar as when you commented on a Meerkat stream, every comment would publish as a tweet.
Oh, wow.
Unless you turned it off. So if people were watching your Meerkat streams, you can actually go back and see a lot of the comments that people were leaving, even if you can't see the video. But the third time I did it, and then what happened was I was actually walking around the stadium, and my friend, I remember Mikey, a fellow New Yorker, was watching, and he started telling me what to do.
Oh.
He was like, go high five the mascot, like go heckle the guys in the bullpen. And I was like, everybody has that moment with live streaming video where you're like, it works.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what happened to me in Georgia. And I remember it was in Georgia because that was state number 2. And then from then on, I was like, wow, if I just keep doing this in each state, I could say I'm like the first one to do this. So I didn't go into the trip thinking I was going to be the first one to live stream.
I had no idea it wasn't pre-planned. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That element of it.
Well, if it wasn't working, I wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
So thank you, Mikey, for watching.
Yay.
But it really,
high five for Mikey.
As you know, and it's
and
ironic,
the mascot.
We're recording here this morning in San Diego, but the best part about every live stream video is the audience. So if you're watching this live or on replay, thank you guys, and we wish you were here in San Diego. It's been a fun few days.
It really has. So you wound up making live streaming a part of the 50 States 100 Days project.
Yes.
And you were doing all sorts of other content on that project as well. So so when you went into it, I imagine you planned to do social content as part of the experience.
Yeah.
So what had you planned, and how did that shift as you discovered live streaming and it really got rolling?
So I was very much inspired. I did a lot of content on Snapchat. Thus, a lot of the yellow branding actually comes from my love for Snapchat. And that's why I use Meerkat instead of Periscope, because Meerkat's logo was yellow. So I was really inspired off the bat from a content perspective by a guy named Mark Kay. I don't know if you know Mark. He was very big in the Snapchat space. Back then, I'm sure he still is if he wants to be, but he's a talk show host based in Jacksonville, and he did a show called Talkin' Snap, where he would create this awesome content on Snapchat. You know, not like you just create on your phone and you just post it. Like he would, you know, go in and post-produce it and everything, and he would talk to all like the Snapchat, you know, superstars. And create like this weekly show. And I was like, that's a phenomenal use case of Snapchat. I'm going to go do that with all these nonprofits that I'm going to meet up with.
Oh, perfect.
So that was a big part of the plan. Was I would take my phone and I would be like, hey, I'm here in Montana and I'm here with Jill. And then I would hand the phone to the nonprofit and they would press the button. I would show them how to press the button. Some of them, they wanted me to hold it for them.
So you were spreading their message on your own Snapchat, but you're also spreading the knowledge of how to tell their own stories on social.
Yes.
By showing them how to use
it. And again,
awesome.
2015, you know, this was all very new for everybody. And I was trying to really, as you were saying, not just create my own content, but also hopefully inspire some of those nonprofits out there to be creating like that.
Yes.
And it's funny, we talk so much about thinking episodically, and I want to say congratulations on your milestone episode today. I'm so proud of you.
Yes, I think this is 98.
Phenomenal.
Very exciting.
So, on your upcoming milestone episode. But that was the idea, was maybe it wasn't the best content that was ever created, but because I was doing it 50 times in a row, now you could create something. I know Jay Barry yesterday was talking about creating stuff that's binge-worthy. So you could go back and watch all of these interviews in a row. And, of course, I got a little bit better at it by the end.
Of course.
I'm no Mark Kay, but as you go through and you do things over and over and over again, as you've done with social over the years, you get better at what you do, and that's always evident in the content that you're creating.
And it's interesting because I've read your book that you wrote about the 50 States 100 Days experience, which is right here. But I need to check out the ebook because it has links to some of your video, like to the degree that it was possible.
Yeah,
right.
Well, I'm going to surprise you. So this is actually not 50 States 100 Days.
It isn't. There's
this is book number 2. This is Fight for. Have you seen this book?
I've seen you promote it. but I haven't.
Okay, well,
I
this
don't
is
have
for
a
you.
copy yet. Yay, thank you.
So, and I don't give this book out very often. I don't even talk about it too much. But this is the follow-up to 50 States, 100 Days. This is Fight for Good Tour, the book. So in 2017, I actually signed on with the Salvation Army USA and did a 25-state road trip with them. And again, as we were just saying, when you do things again, you tend to get better at them. I always say that the Fight for Good Tour, from a content creation perspective, was much better than 50 States, 100 Days because I was just trying to get my feet wet and figure out what I was doing.
Yeah.
You know, so this is really the first real step into real road trip marketing, backed by, again, one of the biggest nonprofits in the world. And if you look inside the book there, you'll see the links to a lot of the different videos and stuff that I was creating, where I had an even more intentional content strategy going in. Like we recorded a lot of horizontal video. I would go back to my hotel room and edit it all together like an iMovie. And then we'd actually create vlogs from the road. So
that's amazing.
Again, it was so much work. And then, of course, we were sending in the content to NBC Universal, and so 4 of the edited vlogs, like the really well-edited vlogs, not my stuff, showed up on Today.com. And so,
did you work with other producers?
Well, NBC Universal was kind of taking the Dropbox that I was uploading to every day and stitching things. I mean, they are incredible. Like, shout out to NBC Universal. If you can make me look good, then you must be doing something right. And they created some really phenomenal stuff.
That's awesome.
So it's really great what you can do. I think, you know, I love live streaming, but I also love talking about these great use cases of live streaming. I've always been a proponent of what I call road trip marketing. You know, because of the tenets of what road trip marketing includes, right? Thinking episodically, creating consistently, and even more importantly, this idea of being together in person.
Yeah.
That if I was to do another road trip and come through Rockland County, and then Grit shows up, and then all of Grit's friends show up, like we're not just creating content, we're also creating these moments where we can come together, like we've done here this week at Social Media Marketing World, to be able to bring people together. And I think that's what's really crucial, is not so much the content, but it's the conversations and the connections that are made through these. Yeah.
And about bringing together, that's the importance of giving days, right? I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily know what giving days are, and we're here with the Giving Day guy. Like, that's his actual company now, the Giving Day guy. So let's talk about what that means, what a Giving Day is, and the part that live streaming really plays in it.
Yeah, so I think the biggest familiarity that your audience likely has with a Giving Day is Giving Tuesday.
I love Giving Tuesday. Shout out Volunteer New York.
You do some marvelous work every year on Giving Tuesday. It's so cool to see.
Thank you.
Just being a great representative of my home state. Like, thank you for everything that you do. And everyone up there in Rockland County does just such great work.
Thank you to Volunteer New York and Tony and Alicia. Like, fantastic.
And it's a global movement. So what you're doing on that day is part of, you know, hundreds and hundreds of communities around the world are coming together, both across the U.S. and around the world, to be part of this social movement that's called Giving Tuesday. There's a great team at Giving Tuesday as well. So they just
started at the 92nd Street Y by Henry Timms.
Yes,
I've met him.
Yeah.
And but the problem with that, the awesome thing and the problem with that is because it's such a large global movement and because there's so much momentum around it, on the one hand, people hear about it, but on the other hand, there's a lot of messaging there. There are a lot of organizations doing it.
And that's why I think, you know, again, when we talk about this Giving Day movement that has sort of proliferated over the last 6, 7, 8 years, depending on, you know, again, it started off slow, like everything else, and now it's really picking up around the country. Local communities, again, a lot of them do still participate in Giving Tuesday. Don't get me wrong, and
they're not going to say no to fundraising.
There are a lot of local giving days that do take place on Giving Tuesday, but companies like GiveGab and Civicor have really stepped into the space of helping communities create their own identities with giving days. Again, I'm wearing the hat this morning. You're like, why isn't Strub wearing his yellow hat?
Give.
This is the Big Give, and the Nonprofit Council is the group that puts that together.
Yeah, tell us about that one.
I was just in San Antonio last week before I got here, which is why I'm out of clean clothes. So I was saying last night, I'm glad your viewers can't smell us on the live stream. I'm flying back today, just like Grits is.
I've got vitamin breath. I smell like airborne.
I've got orange juice breath. Yeah, we all smell like Purell this week. That's really what it is.
That's true.
So the Big Give is March 26th. It's a 24-hour online giving day, like most of them are, from midnight to midnight. And there's over 550 participating nonprofits that will come together on March 26th to collectively raise money and raise awareness. But again, a giving day to me is really about raising money, right? It's our day to ask.
It's fun to create content. It has to be towards a point. It has to have that call to action and that purpose.
It is. You know, we can raise awareness all year long, but we want to raise awareness towards these giving days, right? So March 26th, I'll be back in San Antonio. I get to fly back assuming every flight in America isn't canceled in the next couple weeks.
We'll see how that goes.
So I'll be back in San Antonio for that. And we'll be visiting different nonprofits. There'll be a big open house in the middle of the day at their new office.
Is there a theme to the nonprofits?
It's every type of nonprofit you can think of. Any nonprofit in Bexar County around that area.
So it's geographic?
It's geographic.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a lot of them are city-based. Again, the Big Give is in San Antonio, but they always tell me to speak regionally, right?
Yes.
So it's Bexar County and the surrounding counties. But there are also statewide giving days. There's Colorado Gives, for example. So there's no one set definition for what a giving day is.
Yeah.
But the idea is nonprofits coming together to create a common cause, which would be hashtag Big Give 2020, hashtag Give STL Day, hashtag The Amazing Give. So I'm actually traveling to 5 giving days this spring.
Yeah.
Gainesville, Florida, St. Louis, York, Pennsylvania. So kind of down the road from you before
There
I
you
head up
go.
to
We'll hang
Binghamton.
out.
Right, so I'll be in Binghamton in early May.
Nice. Go Bearcats.
Yeah, see, I love it.
I pay attention.
One of the worst basketball teams in America.
Oh, man.
But that's the idea, right? We want to create a movement that people can come together around. That creates the PR opportunities, get it in the newspaper, it's on TV all day. And then the nonprofits themselves have their own opportunities to stand out using social media, using content creation to be part of that movement.
Let's talk about your live streaming strategy for the Big Give.
Yeah, so we're in the process of putting it together. Last year was really incredible. We got to stage at a hotel, and we were able to kind of set up the tripods and the lights. I've got the vintage Team Strub microphones here.
Yes, I love that.
Mics.
Which matches your hoodie and your button.
Yeah. You
You're
think I
on
like
brand.
yellow? Yeah. That we want to allow the nonprofits and the volunteers and especially the donors to feel special, right?
Yeah.
So when we set up all this stuff, it's very similar to being on TV or being in the newspaper. I'm trying to basically mimic, a media company to go out there and create a stage, literally and figuratively, for these nonprofits, for the sponsors, for the companies that are participating in Company Match, which is a huge part of what we're doing, especially in San Antonio, to feel like they have that attention, that is so prevalent with what we do on social media, right?
Yeah.
The same way I'm very blessed to be your guest this morning, I'm creating that opportunity through what we're creating there at these giving days to put them in the spotlight and share their stories, right? And these giving days, again, I call myself the giving day guy, but that's really all about creating these stages for people to be able to share their stories, where I'll go out and tell nonprofits to live stream, and some of them will, and most of them won't. But a lot of them just love being featured in ways that's going to raise awareness of what's going on.
So you did mention appreciation of sponsors and donors and all of that stuff. And do the nonprofits get up and share their stories? Do they show their work? How are they using live streaming to really pull that money in?
So again, what's really fun about doing this Giving Day Guy stuff is, one, we're sort of forging a new path forward. So each Giving Day is different. When I work with Give for Good Louisville, which I should have brought the other hat and swapped them out here. So shout out to my friends in the Community Foundation.
He's a man who wears many hats, quite literally.
I signed on with them for my 4th straight year.
Nice.
So, I mean, it's a really cool feeling. Kind of like being back here at Social Media Marketing World, where last year I spoke, and then this year, when you get invited back, you're like, oh, I guess I didn't screw it up. We're doing some things right. So each Giving Day is different. We're very much in the process of planning what each individual day is going to look like. But it's most important for me to speak to them and understand what their needs are, what their resources are, what their geographic limitations are.
Yeah.
Again, a Giving Day like Give Local York in a smaller community up there, it's going to be a little bit easier for us to zigzag around.
Yeah.
Whereas in San Antonio and Bexar County, we might use some of the tools like in Switcher Studio to do more remote live videos.
That's the next thing I was going to ask.
Yeah.
So you mentioned you set up kind of a studio in the hotel there, and people come through and participate. What else do you do in terms of, throughout the day? I imagine you're not just static live streaming from that one place.
Correct. Well, yeah. Again, some of the Giving Days prefer to zigzag around. Like last year in St. Louis, I actually paired up with a staff member from the St. Louis Community Foundation and her adorable 8-year-old son.
Oh, that's the best.
Who's a YouTuber. So he was my co-star the whole day.
Oh, and he's a YouTuber.
Oh, he's definitely a YouTuber.
You got a ringer in there.
We'll put his YouTube channel in the comments because I don't remember it off the top of my head right now. He's going to kill me.
I'll check it out.
Sean Frederick is his name.
Yes.
But again, it's an understanding of what we're trying to accomplish. What is that big goal? And then when I get there, and in the conversations in the weeks and months prior, it's what are the big pockets, what are the big benefits that we can take advantage of in these different places? You know, working with Sean, for example, was great that we were able to have him sort of participate and be one of the voices of it. And Neosha in St. Louis had me go to like 12 different places and kind of spotlight the activities that were going on around St. Louis. But some other giving days are going to be the opposite, and they're going to have nonprofits come to their office. We did that in Louisville last year, where we invited hundreds of nonprofits to come into their office, and we were able to create this process where we were creating content on their social media channel, the nonprofit social media channels as well. So again, we're looking at the strengths that we have, which the biggest strength is always going to be the human resources, and it's so cool to see how these community foundations and other organizations are stepping up and wanting to be a part of what we're creating. We're actually working with some of the sponsors. We're finding local influencers like Spurs Jesus in San Antonio.
Spurs Jesus.
Oh man, there are so many cool influencers across the country. But the idea is we look at what we can put into that cauldron to create something really special. We mix it all together and we create something that's totally customized to that local community. So it's not, here's the formula for the Giving Day guy, here's what we're going to do. It's very much, the process starts with, let me listen to what your strengths are, to what you're trying to accomplish, to who you have on staff, to what you've done in previous years. And then we create a customized solution for them that ultimately is going to reach that goal of trying to blow it out of the water on social media on your Giving Day.
Are there any particular ways in which using live video has especially had an impact on these giving days that you've noticed? Have you noticed in particular, oh, well, when people hear the mission, or when people see the things you're doing, or when people just get that excitement of that big event?
I think that the biggest thing, and one thing that Marcus Sheridan was talking about this yesterday in his closing keynote, the biggest impact that we have is always going to be on the people that we're speaking to, either directly and or the people that are watching live in the comments as it's going on. So we can look sort of categorically at the, first of all, the different places that we're visiting, you know, around the community, where people say, boy, I'm going to remember this conversation for the rest of our lives. You know, that you can really make a big impact on the guests that you have on your own show, for example. And then we're able to keep people in the loop with what's going on with a Giving Day. So there's a ton of gamification. There's a ton of really, again, each Giving Day is different. There's matching prizes throughout the day. We want to shout out all the sponsors and answer donors' questions. So we're able to use live video.
That's a great use.
Yeah, and we're able to use tools like Switcher Studio to put up, you know, those questions on the screen. Again, like, there's just so much you can do. And I think the real fallacy would be putting a lid on kind of what we're describing, right? That's why my brain always feels like it's on fire, especially doing 5 Giving Days, and we're going to be doing like 3 in a 7-day span with a half marathon in Binghamton in the middle, where all of those Giving Days are going to be different. But again, that big idea is we want to again, really shine a light on the great work that's being done by these nonprofits and help them achieve their goals, which may not be raising more money, right?
Interesting.
It's again, of course they all want to raise more money, but in speaking to the different Giving Days, they'll tell you that they have different sort of guideposts that they're trying to follow, right? One big one is unique donors, right? How about Bernie Sanders versus Joe Biden, right? Like, so this idea of taking, you know, big money, of course, nonprofits are also collecting, you know, big paychecks, and that can be very beneficial, but it's also great to enlist more people to be part of your Giving Day movement, right? So a lot of Giving Days out there are looking at how many people are actually participating in these Giving Days. That's just as important a number because it represents the strength in that community more so than, you know, one person writing $1 million check.
Sometimes it's breadth, sometimes it's depth, but if they're going for that breadth, it's with the hope that that's more seeds that can grow.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of these Giving Days, too, they'll create customized prizes. It's really fun to see what they come up with. You know, in Louisville, they created the 50 States prize.
Nice.
So, and I was like, oh, thanks.
Was
That's
it a
cool.
golden statue of Chris Strub?
No, they have this beautiful cardboard like cutout, though, of the United States. And again, the idea was, again, and it's so much, I don't want to call it easy because nothing's easy with fundraising, but your ability to reach people, again, the idea is you want to get a donor in all 50 states. So the first organization to find an individual donor, one individual donor, no matter, you know, $10, right, in North Dakota and all 50 states, you're going to win an additional $1,000 prize.
That's amazing.
You know, and it's so much more doable when you have tools like social media that are going to allow you to spread your message like that.
I love that. That's fantastic. So we're going to wrap up with what is one tip that you would give any nonprofit out there for why they should use social media to connect and get their message out there?
Oh man, why you should use? I mean, I just
or why they
presented
should
last
use
week.
live video.
Yeah,
specifically.
I was going to say,
yeah,
you know,
I meant live video.
I wrote in Forbes last year that more nonprofits actually have a Facebook page than a website, right?
Wow.
Which is just blew my mind. You know, so social media it is the way that people communicate with one another these days. I think the biggest thing that I would always remind nonprofits, and I was close with this, including this week here at Social Media Marketing World, is that you are famous to a few people. And that video, again, with this democratized video that you're able to just pick up your phone and create, your message, you may not receive that adulation, you may not receive the traditional likes, comments, and shares on your content, but when you remember what your mission is and who exactly you're speaking to, understand that putting your message out there can change lives and it can save lives. And that's always what I emphasize, is not to keep track of or not to compare yourself against magnificent live video shows like Social, you know, and like some of these other you know, big time YouTubers that we've seen this week walking around here in San Diego.
You don't have to be Fanzo. Like, you don't have to be whoever. You just have to get your mission out there to the right audience. Is that what you're saying?
You do, and you may not realize who is watching or how deep an impact you're having on those people until they walk in or they call you or their family benefits from your services. So just remember that you are famous to a few people, and by using video, especially live video, and especially on a giving day, you're going to be able to multiply your impact and help change lives in your own community.
Love that. Well, thank you so much, Chris Strub, for being
I
here.
told you we should do this live, right? Wasn't this fun to kind of sit next to you? We're a little. She's like,
really nice.
We're starting. She's like, you got to sit a little closer to me than you'd like. I'm like, that's all good. We are best buddies. This gal right here, by the way, flying across the pond over to Marketed Live to come hang out with us. We are the only two Americans that were there in the UK.
Yeah.
We don't fear any. I got Purell here in my pocket, but coming together, you have always been such a magnificent supporter of not just me, but the entire social media community. I know you've created this platform for other creators to really step in, not just internationally in the social media stars that are here, but the people in your own community in Rockland County. New York State is very lucky to have you, and you're just a wonderful human being whom I appreciate so much. I don't know that there's another creator that I would have set my alarm early for on the day that I'm flying back, but this gal, she's like, how about 7 a.m. the day you're flying home and getting home to Greenville at midnight? And I'm like, is there orange juice? Then
there's orange juice.
For you, Grits.
I'm going to get coffee. All is going to be well.
Thank you for being you.
Thank you
for volunteering this week at Social Media Marketing World. Thank you for just being Grits. And
thank you.
You are an awesome, awesome woman. And your audience is lucky to have you week after week.
Thank you.
Travel safe.
Thank you. Speaking of week after week, I do this show every single week, and I will be back next week with Stephanie Liu.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, right? Because it's live video, live streaming month on social here this March. And so we started off with Chris. We have Stephanie Liu next week talking about how to be really captivating and really just kind of put your audience into a trance. She is an actual licensed hypnotist.
She's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I wrote an article last year. I called her the future face of digital marketing.
Yeah.
Like, if that's not a strong enough endorsement, like, she is stunningly
She's
good.
pretty mind-blowing. So tune in next week for my talk with Stephanie Liu, who's also a returning guest. And then the week after that is my 100th episode. See you next week.